Hello, all, and welcome. In this podcast series, we have been exploring onboarding through three distinct lenses: the organization, the job, and the culture. Last episode, I spoke with Susan Minaya, COO and Chief Learning Strategist with Minaya Learning Global Solutions, about onboarding and why it is important to the organization. This episode, we continue the conversation about onboarding with insights from Susan on onboarding's importance to the job. Stay tuned to learn more. Hello, Susan, and welcome back again.
Hi, Dario.
So we're going to keep the conversation rolling with onboarding. Now moving on to the lens of the job. So what makes job onboarding / orientation different than organization onboarding orientation?
Well, you recall in our last session, I mentioned that 20% of staff turnover occurs in the first 45 days of employment. So if you look at the fact that the organizational orientation is just day one, guess where the other 45 days occur? On the job. What makes job onboarding different than organization onboarding is really the granularity. You'll recall our funnel image that we were
Yes, I recall
talking
the funnel.
about. And now what we're doing is moving down into the funnel, getting more precision and preciseness. And so while the manager is going to continue to reinforce the organization's vision, mission, and values, now they're going to help make that personal to the individual employee relative to the job that they do every day.
I like how you are still keeping the organization info top of mind as people transition to the job. It's kind of like a relay race, passing the
Yes.
baton on to the managers who take it to the next level for the new employees. So,
Yeah, that's a great analogy, And connecting the dots here is so important for the new employee. So it is critical to take time to ensure that the employee feels grounded in their new role, understands their resources and performance expectations. So think about when you started your new job at some point, you've had a few. So when
Yeah.
you think about one of them, it's exciting and stressful, even for the most senior level of employees. We're all human and just want to fit in, seem competent, and feel a sense of belonging in our new role.
So what are key components of job orientation then?
Well, from a flow perspective, I believe there's like 5 core components. There's a lot of that goes into it on the double clicks, but let's just tackle it from the 5. So first, we have that initial meeting with the manager or supervisor. It can be so easy for supervisors to get bogged down in managers or any level of leaders in their day-to-day meetings and administrivia, right? But when new employees come on board, that meeting should be their top priority. Primarily because taking time to welcome them face to face, be it in person or via Zoom, and check in with them on their organizational, orientation experience, asking them questions about what were your key takeaways, what questions do you have that, about what was shared with them. I think these are really important moments where the employee feels like, wow, it's amazing that my manager took time to welcome me officially to the job today and didn't just pass me off to one of my team members to do that work. So I actually don't advocate introducing new employees to the entire team until after their leader has given them the context about the job. And the reason for that is because that when they do go out and meet the teams, once they've met with their manager, they'll have more context about the role that they have. So when they connect with the new team members, they'll be able to connect those dots, right? Like, oh, okay, this is what I'm doing, and you're Marianne, and you're handling this piece of the business. I could see where we're going to have to connect.
Yeah.
So in my experience, it really helps the brain create meaningful connections for them and their sense of belonging and community on the team. I think second is really reviewing the job and expectations for the role, right? So be sure that the employee is clear, right, about the job role that they have. What are the tasks that you're expecting them to do? And really helping them understand, what's the meeting cadence for the team or other department meetings. So while this may look different as you go from a frontline employee to senior level executives, but still the job description, the duties and expectations for the role are really critical to setting them on the right path, right? Because they have clarity about why they're there and what they're expected to do. Third is to share resources available to them to do their job. So whether it's online resources, members of other departments, set them up for success to know where they can go, right, to get the information that they need. Who's part of their ecosystem that can help them be successful? So who can they reach out to with questions? Do they have a buddy to help them navigate the first 30, 60, or 90 days? Maybe they don't. If not, what are the online resources that I have? And what are key departments or other individuals that I really need to know are there to help me be successful? So did you ever have a buddy when you started a new job, or someone who was assigned to help you get acquainted?
A little bit, I want to say, in all honesty, not necessarily a buddy that was there for me through everything, but kind of just somebody like, hey, okay, thanks, I'll go this way then. So, yeah.
Exactly. And that is so helpful, right? Because it makes people feel safe. They have a
Mm-hmm.
person that they can go to. And fourth is about setting performance expectations. And I'm just all about this, right? So the first 90 days is typically that window of time when an organization provides that first performance review. So at 90 days will be the first time they get to kind of say, all right, we've watched you perform. We've had conversations over the period of time that you've been here in these last 3 months. And then the company kind of gets to decide if the individual is a good fit for them or not, right? So this is a really critical juncture for any new employee, but it's also, keeping them there is important. If they made it to 90 days, we beat the 45-day number, right? But the other piece is really now the organization gets to say, do I want to continue on with this relationship, or do I want to let it go?
Yeah.
So, the managers really have a huge role to play here in helping the new employee get established. Completing the required tasks, such as policy and procedural reviews, maybe compliance training that has to get done, and other activities that are related to the job, and even required to maintain employment potentially, depending on the role, and establish some specifics and measurable goals for the coming week. So this is really important. Short-term goal setting for a new employee really helps build confidence and competence for that employee. So
I can understand that going into a new workplace and then having, these kind of short-term objectives that you're kind of checking off like, okay, cool, we're in the move, we're getting things done. Like, all right, I feel like grounded in my role now.
exactly. And I mean, it's an opportunity to feedback if you have to calibrate,
Mm-hmm.
or it's a way to really bolster confidence, right? And say, wow, what a great job you did. That's so fantastic. You knocked that out. Good job.
Yeah.
So really, if a buddy's been assigned, managers should really be checking in with that buddy before they meet with the employee, right? So these, I think, getting any feedback, or praise in the day-to-day work that can be shared. So for frontline employees, I like to really use a structured time of one-to-one meetings with the managers in these early days on the job to teach them about, how to do these meetings, right? So a lot of people show up in the meetings and wait for the manager to kind of direct everything. But really what you want to do is train the employee to be self-reflecting.
Mm-hmm.
How am I doing on the job? Where do I have challenges, and help give them kind of the floor for these meetings and sessions so that they're kind of driving what they need, right? And the manager is there as a facilitator. So I think, sharing their successes as well as confusions and feeling like they've built a relationship with their manager over this time, because, that's a lot of attention, to have.
Yeah, that makes sense. And sounds like a solid framing of the job orientation to set them on the right path.
Yeah.
You mentioned meeting every week for the first month. I guess it depends on the size of the manager's team for the viability of that, right?
Well, definitely to some degree, right? So if I have thousands of employees reporting to me, but usually there's layers of leadership there, that so you can, whoever that person is, their day-to-day person is the one who should be doing this work with them. And really the meeting doesn't even have to be an hour, right? With a structured framework like this is, they know how they have to come prepared to talk. The meeting can take anywhere from 15 minutes, to 30. So. And I think new employees do want to see their manager. They do want that feedback. They do want to know that they're on the right track and doing good things, But as they migrate into the second and third month on the job, then you start changing those to 2 times a month, maybe,
Mm-hmm.
And then, by the time they get to the 90-day mark, they're going to be having a performance review. And whether organizationally they decide to do that formally or, conversationally, the employee will really have been set up for success in the role, and really should not be surprised about how the review is going to go at the 90 days, right? So if we're having this frequency of conversations, then, you feel pretty confident going in that you're on task or you're not, you know? So.
Wonderful. Is there anything else essential for the job onboarding?
In closing, I would say that while the level of attention and structure required to help employees onboard to the role is critical to retention, there are many creative ways to do this, right? So there's, we talked about these different core components, but how those get done and how you interact are really kind of have a lot to do with the culture and personality of the organization as well. The important thing is that these things are done to set them up for success. So providing the support they need relative to like navigators on the job, FaceTime with their managers to share successes and challenges, and team events really helps to build a sense of belonging and psychological safety that really make people want to stay.
Well, thank you very much for sharing about onboarding and how it relates to the job.
Oh, well, thank you. I enjoyed talking about it. I
Of
love this
course.
part.
In the next episode, we'll hear about onboarding as it relates to the culture. Until next time.